Hi, welcome to Masterclasses in Coaching with me, John Mills. In today's lecture, I am going to introduce the module. I'm also going to talk about the assessments, and at the end of the session, lecture, whatever we're calling these video recorded lectures, I'm going to join a clip I had with a current Masters by Dissertation student, Kyron Clements, who's been looking at how we assess effective coaching over the last couple of years. All right, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so in terms of this session then, so let me start by first outlining what the module is going to look at, and then I can talk about how we're going to run. So in terms of the focus of the module, it's all really around the idea of the coaching effectiveness framework. So my former PhD mentor, Ian Boardley, has done some work around this, advancing the work of people like Deborah Phelps and Jean Cote and others. And effectively, we felt, Kyron and I, that it didn't really cover the full spectrum of coaching behaviours or effective coaching behaviours. We also didn't feel that the current frameworks really captured what Gilbert and Cote discussed in terms of their indicative framework around coaching effectiveness. So what we've tried to do is expand the framework, not by a lot, but just in some key areas. And over the course of this module, we're going to talk about these 6 or 7 key areas that we feel are absolutely of paramount to effective coaching. Now, for that, I've drafted in a couple of friends to interview. I've also got a couple of your other masters lecturers to help as well, so you'll get Tom and Ben doing some sessions with you around their particular areas of expertise. I've also tried to get a broad range of different sports covered, so we've got a rowing coach, we've got volleyball, we've got football covered a couple of times. I think Ben's going to try and work with somebody in rugby, potentially, like using his experience in that sport. And generally how it works is each week there will be a 1 hour pre-recorded interview that I've conducted or Tom or Ben has done with an expert coach. By expert, we don't necessarily mean Jose Mourinho, we mean experts in their specific area. So, for example, if they're particularly interested in working with foundation phase footballers, so young players, we've tried to find people with lots of expertise, lots of experience of really developing and bringing on young players to talk about how they go about doing that. Likewise with rowing and volleyball, we've got like Team GB, former Team GB captain and current performance volleyball coach. And I won't give it all away because it's still a kind of a work in progress. We might be able to get 1 or 2 more in if possible. So each week there's these 1 hour pre-recorded interviews. There will always also be a 1 hour seminar, or 50-minute seminar via Zoom, where we will be able to discuss the interviews, talk about the theory that kind of underpin and we touch upon in the interviews, and generally answer any kind of questions you've got about that, about the interview or the reading that accompanies the interview each week. All right, so just to summarise, there is an interview for 1 hour, there's a 50-minute seminar, and there's an accompanying reading. What I would say is that in terms of the reading, if you just read the 6 or 7 papers that I've proposed, you might just about scrape through this module, but they are really designed to be like the foundation. So get in the reference list, have a good dig around in the literature, really trying to immerse yourself in this literature to understand it as best as you possibly can. Because when it comes to doing your assignments, that will really shine through that you've put that legwork in. There's also 2 support sessions that will be coming out in your timetable. These are just dedicated to help you with the specific assessments. There's 2 assessments on the module, which I'll talk about in a moment. So those 2 support sessions are literally 2 hours dedicated to answering any questions you've got, going through the assessments in as much detail as you need to make sure that you feel confident in what you're doing. Then there is also the... So let's talk about the assessments now. So there are 2 assessments. One is a 1,500 word essay. Should be an autoethnography. Now, Some of you won't know what that means. Effectively, it means self-study. So imagine doing a case study on yourself about you and your coaching practice. And the idea of this is that, and I'll give some examples of previous work that I've published in this area and some other good examples as well. Generally, what we're looking for is you to think about one specific moment or a couple of intertwined moments potentially that you can describe in real detail of how that affected you and how that shaped your view as a coach. And then I'd like you to try and ground that within the literature. So what I mean by that is, say you had an absolutely amazing coach that was brilliant at motivating you, or a coach that was really careful to make sure they understood your needs as a person and to adapt and try and help you to support you as best as they could. In those examples, you may want to focus in on the motivation literature or individualized consideration of leadership or servant leadership and these kinds of things more broadly. All right? And these are just two very vague examples I've just pulled off the top of my head. You can really get down and deep within the literature in either of the topic, any topics that we discuss, anything that's really of interest to you around coaching in this area, and just do a proper thorough review of that literature and try and get that across in your essay. The second assignment is a presentation. So there is we're listed at 25 minutes with 5 minutes as questions. Please do check the marking grid for this, because students always lose marks for either being much too short or much too long. This year with COVID-19, we may do some pre-recorded. We may allow pre-recorded. I'm not entirely sure yet. I will know by the start of the term. So this can be one of the things you ask me in the week 1 seminar, or week 2, the university calls it, our first seminar. Just to find out what the latest information is about what we will accept in terms of those presentations. Now, if it can be live, I suspect it probably won't be able to be, because not everybody will have access to high-speed broadband or like the equipment that's required for doing that. I suspect we might end up being allow pre-recording. But either way, what I would like you to do ideally is to identify a partner, somebody else in the group, that interviews you just in the same way as I've interviewed other people to provide you content. I want you to deliver your own masterclass in coaching. Now, it won't be as long as the ones I do with the expert coaches, and I understand you may not have a huge amount of expertise that you feel that you can bring at this moment in time. Some of you will, some of you won't. But what I would like you to do is, I'm not going to set you specific questions, so you can tailor this masterclass around your key strengths as an aspiring coach. What that also means is, because I'm not setting you the specific questions, you can ask a friend to work with you, and they can ask you the pre-defined questions that you've organised between yourselves, and basically tailor it around your experience and what you want to talk about. So maybe you've just worked with lots of good coaches as a player or as an athlete in some capacity, and you really want to talk about these key areas that you feel that your coach has really done well and how you want to adopt those. Or maybe it's a real deep reflection and how you, your coaching philosophy and how that's developed and all these kinds of things. Just be careful to make it unique from the autoethnography if you do go down that reflexive route. All right. Now, I'm conscious that there's lots of information I've given you there. Do make sure that you go onto the Moodle page SE766. Look at the module handbook, look at the assessment criteria, the due dates. Please note that I am expecting the birth of my second child at the end of this module. So when you hand your work in, there may be a slight delay in terms of me giving it back within the usual 4 weeks, because I may be on parental leave during some of that time. Hopefully I might be able to do something, like the timings I've tried to work around that, so it shouldn't affect you. But do please bear that in mind. Also bear in mind that in terms of these lectures, this recorded content, this is the first time we've done anything like this as lecturers, many of us. So I'm the sort of person that I'm quite happy to get feedback. Maybe some of you guys have streamed or got a Twitch account or whatever it might be, and you can offer me some tips. I'm very happy to get them. Likewise, I'm planning on releasing content, the interviews weekly. Now, I appreciate that some people like to try and get ahead on their work. It will be dictated slightly by how long it takes me to get these last couple of interviews completed. Obviously, accessing some high level coaches is not always particularly easy, but I can certainly adjust the schedule from like every week to every like 2 per week or something like that to give you a bit of a head start if you want it. Again, it can be something we discuss in that first week if you want. I've also tried to record the lectures, the interviews, in such a way that you don't really need to see the video content. You can stick it in your pocket. You can listen whilst walking the dog or doing the ironing or whatever it might be, driving to work. All I would say is that try to make notes because it will help reinforce that learning. So if you are doing it, if you are listening to the lectures, if you are listening to the interviews whilst doing something else, take voice memos or something like that. Have a pen and paper handy just to help keep that fresh, and to try and come up with those questions as well for when we do have those coaches that are attending the seminars with us. All right, last thing to mention then, and I feel like I've said that a lot before I hand over to the discussion with Kyron. There is a forum on the Moodle page. That forum is for discussions for anything to do with this module. So if you want to get help, or you want to help each other, or you just want to ask some questions about, has anybody found any good papers, or has anybody come across any cool videos, that's the place to ask it. All right. If you've got personal questions, then absolutely do email me. And of course, you can email me anyway. It's john.mills@essex.ac.uk. But if they're generic kind of questions about assessments or questions about the interviews or anything really related to the module, if you're asking the question, I can pretty much guarantee there will be at least one other person on the course that's thinking the same thing as you are. So by posting it publicly in the Moodle forum, it kind of saves everybody a bit of time because somebody else on your course might know the answer and can beat me to it. I normally try and get back to you within 48 hours if I can. And also, if they answer your question or if I answer your question, then everybody can see it. And then the next time somebody thinks, oh, what about that? They can then head to the Moodle forum and there might be a bit of a frequently asked questions page start to appear. Okay, I really will pass over now to the content with Kyron. Thanks for tuning in, and I will look forward to seeing you in our first seminar, which for me will be in a couple of weeks' time, but by the time this produces, by the time this comes out, it might be a couple of days or I'm not even entirely sure when. On that note, I will hand over. Check your timetable. I can't even talk to you about it because it's not out yet. So we're a week before lectures are due to start. The timetable's not in place. Go to University of Essex, my timetable. If you put that phrase into Google, it will find your specific timetable, and then you can see exactly where we are and when. And once I know, I will update things. But yeah, at the moment, I don't know. All right, thanks.